Just because we don't have access to new things doesn't mean that the things we do have access to are bad. But think about how many people dedicate their lives to finding new things. That's what Solomon did. And here he admits it was a total waste of time, energy, and resources. If we just slow down and accept the truth as God explains it, we won't waste our lives chasing some quest to outdo others with all the new things we have access to or have experienced. We'll see that it's all a joke. And like Solomon said, that it's all vanity. Now, if we don't waste our lives chasing after supposed new things because we understand that there isn't actually anything new, we should have more time in theory and energy to pursue the Lord, right? Now check this out. If there's nothing new under the sun, and there isn't, but God is exalted above the heavens, and he is, then he's seen it all. Nothing is ever going to surprise him. Nothing is going to confuse him, ever. Nothing is going to challenge him, ever. Not only does God have perfect foresight to know the future, but having seen the future, he knows that history repeats itself. So he's far better equipped than we ever could be to handle these sorts of things. Things might seem new to us, they're not to him. It's kind of like the book of Judges in the Bible. In there, Israel begins by obeying God, enjoying his blessings. Things are great, right? Then they become complacent in that comfort, trusting their circumstances rather than trusting in God himself. That's a problem. So as a result, they pay the price for their unfaithfulness and experience varying degrees of judgment from surrounding enemies, internal stuff, all kinds of stuff. That judgment causes pain. That pain reminds them of their weaknesses and humbles them and then motivates them to seek God for forgiveness. Thankfully, God provides mercy and grace because of his faithfulness to his word. So he forgives them, restores them, blesses them, and then the cycle repeats over and over through the book of Judges. And if you think about it, that cycle happens to varying degrees in the lives of every believer who's ever lived, even today. So if you're a believer now, you know that you've been through this cycle before, right? So why is this good to know? If we think about how the world operates, we see how often it lies, trying to convince us that new pursuits are worth our time and dedication, as if that's how we can solve our problems. Those pursuits often affect our relationship with the Lord. Those things can easily become idols, or at the very least, distractions that keep us from prioritizing God in our lives. No bueno. When we listen to what Solomon is saying here, we can trust the word and recognize that the world is lying. We don't have to believe those lies that they tell us. We can accept the truth that God speaks, that there are good things in life, but nothing truly new under the sun that's worth sacrificing our souls over. That's the issue. Remember, Jesus asked a very compelling question. What profit is it to gain the whole world and lose your soul? Now, because that's true, we can focus more fully on trusting God. We can trust that God knows what he's talking about here because he's seen it all. He understands our problems and is just as capable of addressing them today as he was in the days of Noah way back when, or the days of Abraham, the days of Solomon, or even in the days of the early church. He knows what we struggle with and also what excites us. He knows what's genuinely good for us. And he also knows what isn't. He's always known these things. That's who he is. He understands how our flesh operates and the problems that, temptation introduces into our lives on a daily basis. That doesn't change about him either. And that doesn't change about us. He also knows how the enemy operates with perfect insight into all of his tactics, because those tactics haven't really changed either since the beginning. So while our life experience might make it seem like there are new things because we're experiencing certain things for the first time at a certain period in our lives, doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually new. Definitely not to God. Remember that Hebrews 4:15 says that Jesus was tempted in all points just as we are, and yet remained without sin. He can sympathize with us and know what we're going through because he went through the same things we do. Now, how is that possible? Because nothing is ever new under the sun. He's been there. He's done that. He's cleared every hurdle perfectly. So if we look to him and focus on him, rather than all the shiny objects and temptations that the world tries to trick us with, we can navigate life with much less disappointment and emptiness. Sounds good to me, right? And according to God, that's what's truly good to him. So check it before I go. If this message was helpful to you, providing some clarity and maybe some good perspective for you, make sure that you hit that like and share button so that others can get the same benefit that you just got right now. God bless y'all. Peace out.